How do you think someone becomes self-absorbed? Any of you, whoever wants to go first.
How any of us in the world?
Just anybody.
I don't really know. I can't think of one particular person in my life currently that's self-absorbed. There's a very small circle of friends that are totally self-absorbed. Yeah, possibly. You can really analyze it. I don't know. I guess someone who is self-absorbed is just someone who's obsessed with their own wants and needs, I feel. Someone who is just always concerned with what's going on in their own lives rather than someone else's life. They're in a selfish way. They're selfish. Selfishness is, I guess, is a good word to say, I guess. But currently I don't know anyone who's self-absorbed.
What do you think, Bella?
Do you know anyone who's self-absorbed?
Not currently. Not like a
But that means you're the one.
Probably.
That's how that works.
That
When
is
you don't know that member of your group or your family, it's you.
That is possible. I don't know.
I can list a ton of people who are self-absorbed, which means I'm not.
Yeah,
But
I have a very small
elimination.
circle though, and I've eliminated a lot of people because of self-absorption. But that could possibly be my own self-absorption as well. My self-absorbed nature. That could be very possible.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think there's one specific way that a person would become self-absorbed. I don't think it's a natural thing. I think it's more of a nurture sort of situation that happens, and sometimes it starts out as a positive thing, like maybe their family or friends trying to reassure them of something, and they just sort of take it and run with it. And then other people, it's more out of like insecure needs, where they want to feel validated and they want to feel like they're contributing somehow.
Yeah.
And they sort of take it to the extreme. That's my thought.
No, that's a good one.
But I'm not self-absorbed.
Yeah.
At all.
I don't know.
I'm probably the opposite. I think I might be the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm the same way. I'm just like, I think that I'm not, but I mean, I like to think that I'm not self-absorbed.
But you said that you were.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm probably
I can admit that I am.
Okay, what about both of you, are obviously married? I mean, the viewer's not going to know that, but now they do. And
yeah, maybe we shouldn't mention that.
maybe not that. But what would you two do in a social setting when you see someone dominating a conversation? Would you choose not to talk or engage in conversation? Would you approach them and tell them to give someone else the opportunity to talk? Or how would you two handle that situation?
I think it depends on the person.
How would you handle it?
It would depend on the person. I mean, if it's someone that I know that that's sort of their way, then I would probably just ignore it. And if there's someone else that I want to hear something from, then I'll just direct my attention to that person. And I don't feel the need to verbally address, shut the fuck up. I'll just move on and I'll just start talking to you, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who aren't quite aware that they've been talking for the past 17 hours. So then I might be like, hey, hang on a sec. So, Sam, how's it going?
Yeah.
And I'll just be more casual like that. I don't know. I'm not very aggressive. Like, I'm blunt and direct, but I'm not really aggressive or anyone to like. I'm not confrontational, I guess one would say.
Yeah.
It's not really my way.
Do you think being in the technology era makes it easier for people to become self-absorbed, or to not even realize that they're so caught up in their own shit that they're not realizing their surroundings and what's going on with their loved ones?
I think it's easier to make people more insecure. Because people have...
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, people have different lives online. Like, no one's really like that. And you're just like wanting to be with this person or be friends with this person because you see them like doing all this cool shit, like posting all this stuff. They're always out. They're always doing this, that, and the other. But they're not. Like, if you like were to be with them in person, they're just like hanging out on the couch with their cat eating animal crackers like the rest of us. But
Yeah.
that's the way that the world works. So I think it makes people more insecure, not really more self-absorbed.
Yeah. I think technology has added sparkle to people's lives, like you said. It's given more of a luster. I think it just depends, like you said. I think it depends on the person, how self-absorbed you are. I guess it depends how disconnected you've become, really, from reality. Some people may just be ultra bored, and that's all they have. Like, I'm friends with so many people on Facebook who are just like, oh.
Yeah, that could cause someone to be self-absorbed, and I
Yeah.
suppose if they're like, oh, I got like 17 likes on this thing, or I got like
Yeah.
all these hearts on Instagram, and it's like, okay.
Yeah,
But
for real.
I think that could make someone self-absorbed if
Totally.
they see all these fake people liking their things.
It makes them feel like wanted and
Yeah.
accepted, and that's probably another reason. And two, I don't think I would shut anyone down if I saw someone dominating a conversation either. I would just be like, I don't know. I like meeting strangers. So like if I was in a social setting, I'd just be like, who? I'm probably gonna be drunk if it's like at a party or something, or I'm just gonna be like, if I'm in a room full of people, there's always someone new to find, you know.
Yeah.
You can always move on.
Okay, Justin, if you feel comfortable, do you think your husband's self-absorbed? And does he have any characteristics that meet that persona? Or how would you say his personality is?
He isn't.
Is he complete opposite of you?
Yeah, he's not self-absorbed at all. He's very kind.
Have you seen how he's dealt with people, people who tend to make him nervous in social settings, who may talk too much or, who think the whole world revolves around them? Have you ever seen him in a situation and how he may have handled that? Or
No, he's very mellow. He's extremely laid back. No one, really, I don't know. If I saw him usually when he's nervous, you can't really see. He's just like, this is my face, this is what you get right now. It's hard to tell with him. I don't think he's self-absorbed though, not at all.
And what about you, Bella? Do you think your loved ones that you have and your close friends, do you see, from reading and researching, we all know what self-absorbed is to a certain extent, but would you say, especially going through the personality test to see, are you self-absorbed? Have you seen a lot of your friends or family members or parents or siblings, have they met the criteria to be self-absorbed or to be partly self-absorbed?
I think I have a friend and a couple relatives that are self-absorbed. Yeah.
What advice would you have for someone who tends to be self-absorbed? What is the best way for, not even curing it overnight, but obviously, being aware of that is like the first step, but how would you say to not be so self-absorbed? What does someone need to do? What advice?
I think to answer that, it all depends on how they got that way in the first place. Because if it is an insecurity thing, then you can't really just be like, hey, you, stop. That's just going to make them feel more like shit. If it is like I think I'm just better than you sort of way, then I don't know. I just don't want to talk to people like that. I feel like they're kind of set in their ways. Like they've gone long enough thinking this thing for whatever reason that they're thinking this thing. And I don't know, whatever. Well, I just let them think it.
Do you think it's possible as an adult to uncondition a learned behavior as a child or teenager from your surroundings, your surrounding environment? Do you think it's possible for people to change if they want to?
If they want to, yeah. But they have to really want to.
Have you ever seen it in your lifetime? Have you seen someone change?
I'm changing before your eyes, Lance.
What about you, Justin? Have you seen anybody change in your lifetime? Have you seen people work on things that they weren't so strong on within?
Oh yeah, mostly just myself. I can't.
Do you have an example that you can tell the viewer of something you've done to improve upon?
I guess really I stopped partying so much, and that's really not like a big thing, but it became excessive with me for a really long time, and I was just like, one day I was just like, you can't drink every day, and You have to, just get up and do stuff. You have to function. So I don't drink like alcohol or anything. And that was hard to not do that. But I don't anymore, and I don't desire to really anymore. And I did that with my own self. No rehab. Kind of just whatever, myself.
Okay, and in terms of another perspective coming from self-absorbed, do you think the media, Hollywood, and, even like societal expectations of what a person should look like, do you think some of that or part of that has an influence over someone becoming self-absorbed? Do you think it can kind of push them or lead them in the wrong direction, misguide them? Do you think someone reading fashion magazines or someone growing up in a household with a mother who wears a lot of makeup and who's very vain, do you think more than likely they will become self-absorbed, or do you think there's still enough within them to be turned off by their mother's personality and like, I don't want to be anything like her, so I'm going to become my own person?
I think it depends on the person. But I also think that there's a separation between someone being self-absorbed and vanity.
What would you say that main separation is?
Like, vanity is more of a, like, from a beauty standpoint. It's that your appearance, the way that you look, the way that you present yourself. And someone being self-absorbed, they could be that in just like anything. If they like trying comics, they could just be all about the comic books and be like, I'm the best illustrator in the world, and whatever shit that they want to say. I can relate that to anything. I think vanity is more of like your appearance.
And what do you think?
What was the question? Oh,
Oh, you are so self-absorbed.
No, I was really.
You will be burned at the stake.
No, I was really focusing on how I answered. That was really good.
Oh, that was classic.
See, that's the sign of a true mind right here. You had me like in thought. I forgot the question because you were answering.
Okay, basically societal expectations.
Well, it's like, okay, let's get this going.
Societal expectations, say you have a mother.
Mm.
Say your mother growing up was always in front of the mirror like, oh, I'm so hot, I'm so beautiful. Don't I look wonderful, darling? Do you think growing up in that household of her instilling, I'm better than everyone else, is going to make you become the person who's more than likely to be like, oh, I'm the shit, I'm the best, no one else exists, just me? Do you think you're going to become a narcissist or very self-absorbed because maybe your mother was or your father was? Maybe he lifts weights all the time and he's flexing in front of the mirror and thinking he's the shit. Do you think you'll become like your parents, or will you be so turned off by them you'll be like, no?
I think it just depends on the upbringing of the person.
What about your upbringing, if you don't mind me asking? What was it like? Was anyone like your parents self-absorbed?
Just my father, but I don't think I'm like him. He was troubled. He was the type of self-absorbed. He wasn't thinking about himself in a good way all the time. He was concerned with everything. He let everything concern him, and he was concerned with his own thoughts. And that is a form I feel too of being self-absorbed. He was just concerned with himself. I do think, now that I say it in those words, I do feel like I am self-absorbed because I let life trouble me, and that's all I make it that I talk about, because I'm obsessing on how to fix it, whatever my issue is at the moment, and I make that my constant mission, and that can, a small amount of ambition can also lead to being self-absorbed. I'm probably a lot younger than you all, so I'm still admitting to myself a lot of things.
How old are you?
I'm 25. Yeah. 25. I just feel like you have to admit to yourself, if you want to change, if you don't want to be whatever, you just have to admit it to yourself first. You're like, I'm either partying way too much and you need to stop, or I'm way too concerned with myself. You just got to work on it, not be too concerned with yourself. That's the best way to change, really, anything. You just have to admit to yourself what you're doing too much of. whether what your excess is, whether it's drugs, food, sex, being obsessed with yourself, being absorbed, whatever. You just have to admit it to yourself first before you can change it.
In terms of like social apps, people meeting online and everything, Grindr, Tinder. I don't know if you've ever met anyone online, Bella. No, you met them all the old-fashioned way.
But I've also I feel like those sites are geared towards people that are like looking for a thing, whether
Mhm.
it's a long-term thing or a short thing. I've never actively looked for a thing, so I guess I found them the old-fashioned way. But I don't know. They just sort of happen.
What about you, like your observations, of maybe not even yourself, but stepping outside of yourself and, the guys who are logged into Grindr or logged into Tinder, especially Grindr, would you say that the majority of gay men tend to be self-absorbed, or do you think that's a stereotype that shows like Will and Grace or Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? Stereotypes about hairstylists and fashion designers, because we're not all fashion designers or hairstylists. I mean, statistically, we're not. So, what do you think? Like your observations of gay men and gay men that you've met in Tucson, are they self-centered more so than the heterosexual community, or is it pretty much a mix of both?
I don't know, really. I've seen there's a mix of gay men in Tucson. I don't want to say that they're self-absorbed. I think with just a lot of gay people, including right now, a lot of us are just hurt. Including if you're, new to the scene or whatever. Anyone gay that I think in the past 20 years, if you really think about it, from the 80s to now, a lot of gay people are just hurt, and I feel like a big majority of us are just desperate.
Sorry for laughing.
I think we're more desperate.
That's too funny.
That's what I feel about gay men right
That's so
now.
true.
Could be accurate.
I
It
feel
is.
that we're more desperate than we are self-absorbed, and I can't really call myself self-absorbed. I can in so many ways, but
You're fighting it. You
Yeah.
want to admit that you're self-absorbed,
Yeah.
but you don't want that realization in your face just yet.
Yeah.
You're like, I could be, but we're not going to say
Yeah, I'm
it right
questioning.
now.
I'm the Q in the I just think a lot of us are desperate. I think we're desperate because we're, a lot of us are legal now. We can get married and all this good stuff, but
I'm intrigued by that question right there. Okay, married. For someone, in order to get married in 2015, not just being gay, but as a whole, do people get married because they feel it's expected of them to get married, or is it something that they really want?
I think, it depends on the person.
Mhm.
the culture.
But from observations that you've seen in your lives, have you seen a fair number of people, even if it's half, the people you've observed in your lifetime, have you seen a fair number of people get married because they think, oh, I'll be better financially if I marry this woman, or I marry this man, or if I marry into a family of money, I won't have to worry so much? Like, do you think a lot of those, past, behaviors are still, going on today? Like, people are getting married for money, or someone's getting married because I don't want to come home to no one, I want to come home to someone. So it's like a selfish reason, like I'm going to have someone for, selfish purposes, like I'm going to be in a relationship with, person B because it makes me feel more like a man, because I don't feel so alone and I feel like I can kind of do what I want but, still have someone.
I think all of those things are valid and accurate to be happening now as they used to, but I think there's no one reason why people make any big decision. Like, it all depends on the person, and I know there's a lot of cultures that that's what you do, and so some of them may feel obligated to.
What about your relationship?
marry.
Did you feel pressured into marrying him right away, or was it something that you really...
I did. I felt a little bit of pressure.
By the family?
By a lot of things. Just like my upbringing was very religious, and you grow up, you get married, that's just what you do. But I was never like that. I never wanted to get married. I'm too rambunctious, I guess one could say. I don't like being tied to things or people.
So what is it like being such a creative artist and being married at the same time? Would you say it's not an impossible task, it just takes a lot of work, or is it something you enjoy? Or
Well, I say pretty much anything takes a lot of work, especially in marriage. You take two imperfect people and put them in the room, and you're going to make something work. Like, that takes work. But I think with the right person, it doesn't always feel like work. But I don't know. I'm a Sagittarius, man. Relationships aren't my thing. And so, yeah, I felt pressured into it a little bit, and I regret it. But it is what it is.
what do you think, Justin, to follow up what Bella said?
I didn't. My husband, my current husband, no, I didn't feel pressure to marry him. I don't know. I never. My family was very religious, but they never really pushed marriage on us. They're like, if you get married, you'll get married. I never planned on being married though.
How did you get married?
How?
Like, who proposed to who? Like, how did it come about?
We just discussed it.
How long did you know him before you got married?
We got married. We had been together for 6 months. We were together we wasn't together very long. But I knew that I wanted to be with him.
Is he the type of man that you can see yourself with 30, 50 years from now?
Yeah.
What is it about him as a person that makes you know that he's the one?
He's respectful. He's the most respectful person I've ever known in my entire life.
How does he interact with the neighbors in the neighborhood?
He stays to himself.
Do you guys have any self-absorbed neighbors who live next to you?
I don't know. I don't speak to my neighbors all the time.
Oh, I'm so inquisitive, I can't help it.
I didn't live in a neighborhood I didn't have a lot of neighbors growing up. I lived in a very small town, so neighbors are kind of a new concept for me, really. I mean, we smile and wave. If we see someone who lives down the road from or across from us, at the store, we'll smile and wave. We nod. He and I are both nodders. Sometimes I'll, give the hillbilly wave and smile. I don't carry conversations with the people who live around me.
So in terms of getting married, would you say you did not feel pressured whatsoever? Did you feel pressured from your now husband, but at the time your boyfriend? Did you feel pressure from him to get married right away? Or were you wanting to get married later? Or do you even remember?
No, I still didn't feel pressured. We had been talking about it, and gay marriage had been legal here for 2 months.
So it wasn't a political statement you two were making?
No, neither of us are very political at all. I'm not political at all. It was just, it was there, we had the option, and we had just been discussing that a lot, and I don't even know how really we got into it, because he and I had very long conversations that stem from a mustard seed, really. But in one of those conversations, we discussed marriage.
I have an interesting question for you, too. Now I'm becoming self-absorbed because I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued, and I'm going to forget what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to say it. Do you think someone who has an affair is self-absorbed?
Yeah.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
No? Okay, now this is interesting, the dynamic here. I need to hear your opinion behind this.
Well, I've never had an affair, if you will, but I've also never, I've always been more on the polyamorous vibe of things. I've never had anyone to cheat on, so I've never had an affair. But I don't think it's necessarily someone being self-absorbed. I think there's a lot of reasons people go somewhere else Like, it can be emotional reasons or physical reasons or mental reasons. Like, it's not always some negative, oh, you're self-absorbed, so you're having an affair. That's not always the case. Like, you could just be really unhappy and you don't want to feel like that.
What do you think it is about society, that makes us, or not even necessarily us, but makes people in general feel guilty about even being tempted to have an affair with someone? Like your friend is like, no, don't you dare, cheat on your husband. Like, what is that about, human nature, and even non-religious people of non-religious backgrounds? Like, what is it, it's so frowned upon. Like, even in 2015, we're not even in the 1950s anymore.
I think it's just a monogamy thing. Like,
What is it with monogamy,
like
though?
People just always, it's the one and the one. Like, that's it. You're with your one person and that's it. That's just the way most people see things. It's sort of like the way people always refer to things as, or people as he when they don't know the gender. It's automatically a he. I don't know why. Because people assume God's a he, possibly, but I don't think that there's like one real source that can like.
So would you
determine
say
what that's about, but
monogamous, like monogamy, like people who practice monogamy, and they lecture people, who maybe have a lifestyle of yours or mine or other people's lifestyles? Do you think, what is that about them? Do you think that makes them, self-absorbed, that they can't see beyond their own nose to know that other people live their lives differently and, have different belief systems and different forms of relationships, transitory relationships, permanent relationships? Like, what is it about so many people that feel like they have to stick their nose in everyone else's relationships?
I don't know. I don't know if I could chalk that up to someone being self-absorbed. I guess you'd really have to unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes with a lot of things, it's hard for people to understand something that they're not familiar with, or something that they're not comfortable with, something that they don't understand. People fear what they don't understand. That goes for a lot of things, whether it's monogamy or something else. If you don't get it, then you're not going to get it.
So do you think a lot of the problem is the understanding, that it's just not there? People just don't understand? What do you two think?
I think there's a lot of things people don't understand, but I also think there's a lot of things people don't want to understand because they're familiar with one thing. Like, if you're familiar with a man and a woman, that's the relationship, that's how shit happens, then you're not going to be comfortable with two girls or two guys or two girls and a guy. That's how I like to roll. But like, that's just not going to make you feel at home because it's not what you're used to. It's not what you're comfortable with. It's not the way you were brought up. It's not what you feel is the right thing to do. Whatever that is. That's just my thought on it.
What do you think, Quiet Justin?
About monogamy and
You just seem perplexed about the whole relationship thing. Like, what were you thinking about?
just now.
Yeah, like, what do you think about this?
About monogamy in general.
Yes.
I think it's just, I don't know really. I think it's just something that's probably agreed upon with some people. Some people agree to be poly, some people, I don't know really. I don't really feel like I was raised with like relationship things. No one really ever taught me how to be in a relationship. I can't really think of a. I mean, really, I guess it's just whatever for some people. Some people just, I think it just depends on the couple, really. Some people want to be with multiple people, and some people, just want to be with each other. Some people get bored. Some people, it just depends. I think it just depends on the couple. It depends on the person.
I think monogamy is not realistic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it actually exists. I think it's unrealistic to think that you're going to get all of your needs fulfilled by one imperfect human being. It's just, it's not natural. Like, and you can unpack that into, like, people think cheating is different things. Like, you're not cheating if you're, like, just kissing somebody, or you're not cheating if it's just, like, text or whatever. Like, it has to be, like, penetration, that's cheating. But there's levels to it. And so I think monogamy is sort of the same thing. Like, if you're with one person and you feel emotionally comfortable or whatever, safe or whatever, but physically you're not, satisfied with them and you go somewhere else, like that's not really monogamy and that's cheating. But if you're with them physically and you're not really connected with them mentally or emotionally and you go to somebody else for that, then you're also not being monogamous and you're also like cheating mentally, emotionally. So like, it depends. Like monogamy, like it's not a thing. Like it's just not a thing. It doesn't exist, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it's unrealistic. You can't have one person give everything that you need. Like we're humans, we're complex. As much as we don't like to admit it, like we are. And you can't. It's unrealistic to think one person is going to fulfill all of your requirements. It's just not going to happen.
What about in terms of people being, flirtatious and wanting to possibly, still laughs. I'm sorry, but I have to say this. Okay, what about both men and women and them having the tendency to seek elsewhere? She was saying not everyone, one person can fulfill all our needs, which is very realistic because not one person, it's very hard for one person to fulfill your needs, sexually, emotionally, everything that you need. And what if someone's married? What advice would you have for, the married population out there who want to maybe explore or have an affair? Like, what advice do you have for these people?
What advice do I have for someone who wants to have an affair?
Yes, like, what advice do you have for someone who wants to have an affair but is afraid of the repercussions, is afraid of the outcome of what could happen, maybe not even career-wise necessarily, but maybe within their marriage or their reputation, throughout the community? Do you think people should, as maybe, people could say it's self-absorbed, but I mean, it's just taking control of your life. Do you think they should just make themselves happy and just pursue that person that they're infatuated and attracted to, and then just be like, fuck my husband or fuck my wife or whatever and just go for it?
Oh, wow, that's tricky. I really don't. Like, I don't know if I would, if someone came up to me, I'm married, I need advice, like, I'm into this person, I don't know what I'd say about that. Like, I think, okay, like...
What if you witnessed something, though?
I think it would depend on the people, like, how familiar I am with these people. Like, if, like, crushes are easy. Like, crushes happen all the time. I'm having crushes right now with multiple people. Like, it's just, like, there's a lot of really awesome people in the world. So, like, I wouldn't really risk a relationship over a crush. Like, that's just...
What if it's not a crush, though?
But I think that's something that only the people involved would know. That's not something that I would know. I think, I would never be the type of person to say, oh, well, screw that person, go do whatever makes you happy, because that's a little selfish. But at the same time, I'm very much the type of person that just like follows my gut. I follow my instinct, and sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not. And I think I think if you're ever in that situation where you're questioning, do I do something outside of this with this other person? I think bringing up that question is like cause for concern right there. Either you need to have a deep conversation with yourself or a deep conversation with your SO, or like whatever. But like when you're in that moment where it's like, wow, I really want to be with this person, then maybe you're not as happy as you want to pretend you are with this person. Or maybe there's something you're not telling this person and you guys need to go hash it out or whatever. Or maybe you just need to move on. Like, it happens. But I'm not going to tell anybody, go get your jollies off, go do what you want to do. Like, I know what I would do, but I'm different from a lot of people.
Well, what would you do, though? I mean, say someone, man, girl, whoever, and you were attracted to them, they were attracted to you, and you were thrown in an uncomfortable situation with someone, just a hypothetical situation. What would you do? Would you, if you were attracted to that person and liked them too, would you plunge and go for it, or would you really think about it first?
I would think about it if there's something on their end that I need to think about. Because, like, on my end of things, I know where I stand. I don't know where other people stand. So if I'm, like, I have a lot of crushes. Crushes are easy. I don't really count those. But if I'm attracted to somebody, like, they know it. I'm pretty direct. So if they do what they do, like, I'm not gonna stop them from doing that. But I'm also not gonna try to encourage them either, because I don't know their situation. Like, I would never want to be responsible for, like, ending someone's relationship or someone's marriage or whatever, but at the same time, like, if you're, like, into me to the point where you want to be with me and you have another person, then your relationship is over anyway.
What do you think, Justin? Do you have to agree with what she says, or do you have varied thoughts on this topic?
I mean, if someone's going to cheat, it's probably something they should discuss with their spouse. Because if I'm at the point that I'm going to cheat,
Hypothetically, what if you were in the same situation as her, and you had someone come on to you?
Is that my situation? You're like, what do you
Well,
mean it's the same
it's a
situation as me?
it's a hypothetical.
It's the same situation
Yes,
that you just
it's I know.
proposed to me.
It's a
That's not my
hypothetical. It's a
situation.
hypothetical situation. You know, like say I'm like mirroring you two, and these things are happening in my life or someone I know's life. But it's easier to go through you two because I'm interviewing you two.
Oh.
But you know, through your perspective, you know, do you have pretty much the same advice for people as her? You know, and
yeah.
if given this opportunity, you know.
If someone asked me for my advice, I probably would.
But what if someone were coming on to you though,
Oh.
and you liked them and they liked you? You know, would you
Oh,
consider?
that's not the question I got. I have
Well-
an answer for that. No, I'm kidding.
You know, I was trying to like kind of tiptoe around exactly what I wanted to ask, but that is pretty much
Well,
the
don't
question.
tiptoe. Like,
Okay.
Be direct.
But that's pretty much what it is. Okay, both
So
of you.
someone's coming on to
Yes.
you, and you want to be with this person
Yes.
too. What do you do?
Yes, exactly.
If someone's coming on to me, and I also want to be with this person, then I'm just gonna let that happen.
Mhm.
If I'm being completely honest, because
Okay.
I don't know, like I never, because some people are like, well, I don't want to like do a thing with this person when they're in a relationship with another person, because then what if we get together and then like that's that's how you started, so they're gonna just go do that to you. I don't really think like that, so I don't think in terms of like relationships or like long term, if you will, which is probably my bad. But like I don't know, so like I feel like if someone's in the position where they're gonna do that anyway, then they're not completely with another person anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So if I'm super attracted to somebody and they're super attracted to me, whether they're attached or I'm attached or neither or whatever, and something's happening, I'm all for letting it happen.
And what are you, Justin? Looks like you're really.
I don't know really. I mean, if
Okay, hypothetically,
If
then I'll
someone-
throw this in. Say I came on to you.
if you came on to
Yes.
me right now,
You know, obviously you're married.
if you came on to me now, no, I wouldn't, because I consider you a friend.
But what if someone that you liked, you know, and they liked you? What would you do in that situation with you loving
The way
your?
I feel now, kind of about my husband, it would have to be someone very David Beckham-esque.
And what if it was though?
Someone very.
What if it was? I mean, hypothetically.
Jolie-esque, yeah.
Hypothetically, what if it was David Beckham?
David Beckham, if he was sitting here and he was like, "Hey, dude, let's go hit it in the back," I'd be like, "Sure."
But what if it wasn't even just that? He said, "Hey, dude, leave your husband for me."
No.
Oh, see, now that's different.
Yes.
Is it like a hookup, like?
Well, first,
someone
you know,
coming
it's
on
like
to
the
you,
seduction.
Or is it like I want to be with
You know, but what if they were really like, say you woke up next to them, or after you know you guys are intimate together, after you guys have sex, however you want to word it. Say they're like, I really want to be with you. I just don't want this to be a hookup thing. You know, like
Okay.
What
Well,
would
I
happen?
don't- like, see, I don't do hookups. That's not really my style. But. Like,
what if it was a heat of the moment passion thing, and then they're like, I want to be with you. Like, what do you do in a situation like
if
that?
If I'm attracted to somebody, then I want to be with that person. So if they wanted to be with me too, then I'm all for that. Like a hookup thing, or even if it didn't start out like a hookup thing, but heat of the moment, as you say, something happened, and then the next day you're like, oh shit, how did that happen? The thing is, if I'm attracted to somebody to where I'm going to be physical with them or want to be with them, then I want it to be a decision that they make. I don't want to be something that they regret. So like if it's like, oh, I've been drinking, so now I'm suddenly going to be honest with you and tell you all the shit I've been thinking, then I would put the brakes on that and like tell me when you're sober, sort of thing. So I don't really do heat of the moment Like I feel like if you're attracted to me and you want to be with me, even if you're attached to somebody else, then like tell me.
Do you think
Boss.
if you guys did, both decide, say you guys were both in this situation, you both choose this new and exciting person, or maybe someone you've known for a long time, but say you're married, and you both are married, which is lovely for this scenario, but would you two deal with the repercussions if you wanted that new person? Would you just be like, I don't care what other people are going to say about me, like if I'm a homewrecker, or do you think that that's just something that people just of today's society really need to stop being self-absorbed with their own lives and just let these other people come together without the repercussions of gossip and everything?
I don't really think about like what people are gonna gossip about me. I mean, and like especially in a situation like that, like I'm a very private person, especially when it comes to my romantic relationships. So people are only going to know what you tell them. So people can gossip and make up whatever sort of stories that they want to, but like that's not going to have any way on like my decisions. Like if I want to be happy and I'm happy with this person and this person is happy with me, then we go off and be happy together. Like I'm not going to not do it just because I'm worried that people are going to be like, oh, that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't really think that way.
What advice do you two have for reading between the lines? If someone, say hypothetically, someone's flirting with my mom, and my mom's really interested in that person, but she doesn't know if that person wants to be with her. Should she just go up to that person and be like, do you want to be with me for the rest of your life, or why are you stringing me along? Because like a lot of people can identify with this. I mean, there's songs, there's films, there's poetry about it, just the agony. Like, what do you do when someone's stringing you along on this fishing pole and they just keep giving you little, tidbits? Like, what do you do in this situation?
I think reading between the lines and addressing someone stringing you along are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
As far as reading between the lines go, I recommend not doing that because I'm a very blunt person, I'm a very direct person, and I want someone to be that way with me. I feel like if I try and read in between the lines and I get it wrong, I'm going to be pissed.
You're going to come
off,
out looking like a jackass.
and you're going to look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, you be honest with me, and that's how I want shit to go down. Mm-hmm. As far as like stringing people along, like that, I find that childish. I say don't do that. Like, I would never do that to anybody, and I wouldn't want to be with someone who's doing that to me.
Do you think there could be a person in good intentions, maybe they're person of power, like a politician or something, and they're having an affair with someone? Do you think they kind of use that, like kind of like Bill Clinton, for example, with Monica Lewinsky? Do you think he used his power to get what he wanted, or do you just think it was just animalistic and he just wanted it?
I think those people know the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm. But if it were a more personable thing, I brought that up because it's hypothetical, but like, well, it really did happen, so it wouldn't be hypothetical. But say something between you two, even you two were to be intimate, you both are married. Okay, say this situation, this is a perfect situation. Say you both are intimate, and somehow one of your husbands finds out about it, or both.
Intimate with each other.
Yes, just hypothetically.
Sure.
And what if both your husbands, or just one of your husbands, walks by and sees you two intimate? Now, would your husband think you were self-absorbed for engaging in that kind of spontaneous, pleasure? Or what would happen in that particular circumstance? Do you think your husband would leave you? Would your husband leave you?
I don't know. I know my husband would be very hurt.
Would he leave you?
I don't know. Probably. I would assume so, because that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
What about you?
I only know what I can assume.
Well, this word husband can only be used for a few more days, but I would say no, only because going into it, like, monogamy was not my thing, and so he knew that going into it.
But he still loved you enough to marry you regardless of...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, people have told me that you're not really into monogamy because you haven't been with the right person to make you want to only be with that person. And maybe they're right, maybe they're not, but yeah, so no, he would not.
Okay, and another scenario, just to see how you two are going to react to it, to try to visualize it. What if you two walked in on your husbands being intimate together? How would you two handle that?
I kind of think he's a little gay anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised.
What about you, Justin? What if you saw your husband fooling around with her husband? How would you react to that? Would you get violent? Would you get verbal? Would you storm out? Would you throw something? Or would you just be completely self-absorbed and just be like, I don't care, and storm out?
I don't know what I would do. I don't think I would become violent.
No.
I don't think I would, like, throw a fit.
How would you become, though, in all
I would
honesty?
probably become very verbal.
What would you say?
I would just be like, I would probably be polite until that person left.
Polite?
Yeah, I would.
Is that your honest response?
And what I would say right now, if I came in encounter with my husband, I would say, excuse me. What are you doing in my bed? If this instance was happening in my bed, I was like, excuse me, what are you doing in my bed? Doing that. You can leave. I'm his husband. Have a nice day. And then when they left,
But then what if during this hypothetical circumstance, what if Bella came in slightly 5 minutes after and you're still going back and forth and...
So like it was like a three-way?
Well, no. No. You both catch your husbands, but not at the exact time. You catch that, but you don't know. And then
like,
would
I tell her about
Well,
my
no.
husband?
She comes into the room 5 minutes later, and she sees you yelling, and she's like, what's going on here? She sees her husband in bed with another man. She's like, I thought he was straight. And then here...
She asked me.
And then here you are yelling. Do you think she should come to you and talk to you, or she should try throwing one of the men out of the bed, or what do you think is the best thing to do in this given circumstance?
With my experience with people, she would probably come in and say, why is everyone yelling? What's going on? And that's when I would probably say, I'm having an issue with my husband. You probably, I'm having an issue with my husband. I would probably leave it at that. I need my husband. I'm here for my husband. And I'm
Do you
sure
think you two would get divorced in this particular circumstance?
I don't know.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not because of you're sleeping with another person, but because I would be upset because like we've had this conversation like a lot, like knowing how I stand on the whole like monogamy issue. So I would be more like upset of the fact that you were lying and being all like, no, it's just you, like you're the only person I want to be with, like and monogamy like all the way, aces, and then you're like fucking some other person. Like I'd be more pissed off that you lied about it and like not acknowledging your own weaknesses as a human being.
Do you think as human beings you two would go out for a drink after something like that and become friends?
That's really hard to say. Like becoming friends, like I don't know. Like
it just depends on if I maybe saw her like at the grocery store and I remembered her, and if I was included, if one of us was acting not, gentleman or ladylike because of the situation we were in, I would probably do to her what I do to my other neighbors. Smile and wave.
Like it's not us. Like
yeah.
It's not like we did a thing.
Yeah,
It's
I wouldn't go I wouldn't want her to beat me up. I wouldn't want to be.
And I'm not like a violent person. I'm not an
Yeah.
aggressive person. I'm not a confrontational person. And so I would just be like,
I'd be like, you know what?
Okay.
I would be very respectful of her because she and I have gone through a similar situation in this scenario anyway. I'd be like, you know what? We went through something similar. How you doing today?
It's easier to file for divorce when you can just say like, oh, it cheated on me instead of irreconcilable differences. So I'm just saying, like, not that I'm encouraging him to go bang somebody else, but it would make my life easier.
Yeah.
Well, at this time, I'd like to thank you two for being interviewed. And do you have any last thoughts on monogamy, relationships, or self-absorbed? Any last words of wisdom for someone who thinks that they're damaged or something's wrong with them? Because that's a common thread conversation with someone. They're like, God damn it, why can't this guy just stay with me? Why didn't he love me? Or why didn't she love me? It's like, what advice do you have for these people who aren't even necessarily complaining? Maybe they're complaining inside their own mind and they're like, is it me? Am I defective in some way? What advice do you have for those people?
At the end of the day, you just have to examine yourself. Like, you can go to psychologists and doctors and stuff, but no one can really tell you about yourself better than you. You just have to, really talk. You have to have conversations within your own heart and your own mind about yourself and with yourself, about who you are and who you want to become. just before you do anything, I guess no matter what, you have to examine yourself and ask, why am I doing this? Why am I about to do this? What can I do to change it if I can? Whatever it is.
What about you, Bella?
I agree with that. Self-examination. Follow your gut.
What do you do to self-examine yourself?
I follow my instincts, like, all the way for just about anything. And usually when I ignore them, I end up fucking myself over. So I'm pro following the gut.
Yeah.
Do what your heart tells you to do.
One last question for you two. Do you two think at this moment in your lives, each and individual lives, would you say that you are content within your relationship?
Since it's about over, yeah.
Are you glad you took the plunge and you're getting a divorce?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any advice for those, women out there or men who feel trapped within the relationship? Would you encourage your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever to be like, you can leave this person, you're not stuck with her, you're not stuck
I
with...
encourage people to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to encourage anyone to leave someone or stay with someone. I encourage you to be happy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you really think that you can be happy with this person, then by all means, fight to the death. But if you, in your heart, know that that's not what's going to happen, then be strong enough to walk away from it.
Okay, and then me and my damn questions, but I'm going to keep asking them because we're supposed to ask questions for this exercise of ours. But how do you think the viewer will interpret this piece?
I don't really care.
Please elaborate on that.
I'm sure people are people in your class that's reviewing this, so I don't know those people. I don't know what people are going to think of me. I just know what I think of me, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Justin, that was so self-absorbed. It was
Oh,
awesome, but
But
the last part when he's like, it was just, oh, I love it.
The head.
Oh,
Yes.
was it?
Oh gosh. What about you, Bella?
Positive and negative forms of being
Yeah.
self-absorbed, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how people would interpret it, and I have to agree. I honestly don't really care. Like, I'm an honest person, so you're either gonna like it or you're not gonna like it. But at the end of the day, that's who I am. That's what I think. That's how I feel. You're entitled to feel however you want.
And why is it important for people to be aware, of selfish, behavior or being self-absorbed? Like, if you could kind of sum that up in a sentence or two, why is it even important, that we're aware of it? Is it important?
I think it is, because like most things, there's a good and a bad to it. So I think you have to be aware of it to know when you're crossing the line into something negative.
And you just got to keep your balance. I'm a Libra. You have to keep your balance. If you gotta have a little bit of everything. You have to have a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper and a little bit of mayonnaise, and that makes chicken salad. And if you have a little bit of everything, if you have a good balance, it's going to be good chicken salad. That's like a little theory to life, I guess. Just weigh yourself out and be balanced, and your life will be good chicken salad.
I'm a vegetarian, so I'm just gonna have to take his word on the chicken salad.
Even if it's vegan chicken salad, you have to have the right amount of everything. Fruit salad, shit.
Thanks again, you guys, for letting me torment you for about 54 minutes.
54 minutes.
I appreciate it. I will edit this down so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm glad that you guys did the little to the viewer, because I think sometimes the viewer needs to be shook.
Yeah.
So, but you two have a nice day, and thank you.
Yay.